world doesn't care about fairness. You can be honest, loyal, hardworking, and still, someone will stab you in the back. You can master your craft, give everything you've got, and someone less capable will still slide into the spot you fought for. That's life. Harsh, unbalanced, merciless. But here's the truth. The ones who see this reality for what it is are the ones who endure. And the ones who endure, they're the ones who rise to the top. There's a kind of power that can't be measured or touched, but everyone feels it. Some call it instinct. Others call it cunning. I call it dark intelligence. It's forged in the fire of betrayal, humiliation, and defeat. Where most people collapse under the weight of pain, you turn that pain into sharpness, clarity, and strength. This intelligence doesn't shout. It listens. It doesn't rush. It waits. It doesn't lash out. It strikes with precision, at the perfect time. While others waste their breath arguing, you're gathering information. While they're blinded by anger, you're calculating. While they're drowning in emotions, you're already planning the next 5 steps. Most people are playing checkers, moving fast but shallow. You're learning how to play chess. Slow, deliberate, strategic. But before we move forward, let's draw a hard line. This knowledge isn't meant to turn you into a villain. It's not a weapon for destruction. It's a shield, a survival tool. Use it to defend yourself, to navigate a brutal world without losing your soul. The goal isn't to hurt the innocent. The goal is to understand the game so you can finally stop being a pawn. So today, we're unlocking 2 of the 8 core traits that separate the powerless from the powerful. Survivors from victims, leaders from followers. And before we dive in, I want you to make a choice right now. Say it to yourself, say it out loud, or even write it down. I choose to be strategically intelligent, not emotionally reactive. First principle, calculated opacity. Never let people see all of you. Never hand over your entire story like an open book. Show only what's necessary and nothing more. When people see just half the picture, they fill in the rest with their imagination. And their imagination? That's what gives you influence. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." The most captivating people you've ever met all have one thing in common. They don't hand you every answer. They pause. They smile. They redirect. They leave blanks in the story that make you lean in closer. Most of us feel obligated to explain ourselves. Someone asks a question, and we spill everything. Our reasons, our fears, our plans. We think we're building trust, but in truth, we're giving away power. Mystery creates gravity. Mystery pulls people in. Think about a simple example. Someone asks about your weekend. Most people say, "Oh, just stayed home, watched some movies." That's harmless honesty, but also forgettable. Now imagine answering, "I had something important to take care of." Then you change the subject. Suddenly, you've shifted the dynamic. You're not predictable anymore. You're intriguing. This isn't lying. It's choosing what not to say. It's protecting your energy, your information, your currency. Every word you share should be worth something. And the less you give away, the more weight your words carry. Remember, calculated opacity isn't about being secretive for the sake of it. It's about staying in control of your own narrative and never letting anyone else own your story. Second principle, adaptive persona. You're not the same person with everyone you meet. And you shouldn't be. A conversation with your grandmother looks nothing like a night out with your friends. A job interview isn't the same as a heart-to-heart with your partner. You shift, adjust, adapt. That's not being fake. That's being effective. Machiavelli wrote that a leader should appear merciful, faithful, humane, upright, and religious. Notice the word appear, because people see only what you present to them. Adaptive persona is about using this truth intentionally. Every person you encounter has different values, different ways of seeing the world. If you speak the same way to everyone, you'll connect with some and completely miss others. But if you adapt, if you learn their language, you can connect with anyone. Talking to a logical, detail-oriented thinker. Show them numbers, data, evidence. Talking to someone led by emotions. Speak to their feelings. Speaking with a visionary. Paint the big picture. Think of water. It takes the shape of any container. Cup, bottle, lake. But it never stops being water. That's you. Flexible on the outside, unshakable at the core. Most people mistake authenticity for sameness. They think being real means acting the same in every situation. But real authenticity is staying true to your values while adjusting your expression so people can actually hear you. This skill changes everything. Negotiations, leadership, relationships. People feel understood around you. And when people feel understood, they trust you, they follow you, they respect you. But here's the warning: adapt, don't dissolve. Your principles are the stone. Your personality is the facet. Shine differently in every light, but never lose the diamond at the center. These are just the first two traits of dark intelligence. And already, you can feel the shift. A new way of thinking. A new way of seeing yourself in the world. Because the truth is, survival isn't about being the loudest, the strongest, or the smartest. It's about being the one who sees the game clearly and learns how to play it with strategy, patience, and precision. The third principle, detachment. Detachment is one of the greatest sources of strength, yet it's also one of the most misunderstood. People often confuse it with being cold, numb, or uncaring. But real detachment isn't about shutting off your heart. It's about refusing to be ruled by fear. It's about freedom. Think about it. What you're terrified of losing can control you. What you depend on for validation can be used against you. If someone can dangle the threat of loss in front of you, they can bend you into submission. But when you're no longer afraid of losing, whether it's a job, a relationship, or someone's approval, you break the chains. You can't be manipulated. Machiavelli once observed, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." He was pointing to the raw truth that fear of loss makes us weak. Freedom from that fear makes us powerful. This doesn't mean you should stop caring. It means you stop clinging. Caring is strength. Desperation is weakness. Picture two people negotiating a deal. Person A needs it badly. Their plans are already built on it. They can't afford for it to fall through. Person B, however, would like the deal, but they have other options. They can walk away. Who holds the power? Clearly, person B. Because they're detached from the outcome, they can stand their ground. They can negotiate without fear. Detachment clears your vision. When you're not obsessed with being right, you can actually see what's true. When you're not desperate to be accepted, you can make honest choices. When you're not terrified of being alone, you can choose relationships that truly honor you. Here's the paradox. The less you need something, the more likely you are to get it. Confident people aren't fearless because life always bends in their favor. They're confident because they know they'll be okay, even when it doesn't. That's the essence of detachment, the quiet assurance that you'll survive, adapt, and keep moving forward no matter what. This doesn't mean you stop working hard or stop valuing the people around you. It means you stop letting outcomes dictate your self-worth. If your entire identity hinges on winning, being liked, or having things unfold exactly as you imagined, you'll crumble under pressure. Detachment shields you from that collapse. It also shields you from manipulation. If someone threatens to take away something you don't fear losing, their power evaporates instantly. The most dangerous person in any room is the one who has nothing to lose. But the most powerful person is the one who has nothing to fear. Start practicing on small things. Don't cling to winning every argument. Don't cling to being everyone's favorite. Don't cling to your plans working out flawlessly. As you get comfortable letting go, you'll notice people begin to treat you differently. Respect grows. Why? Because people can sense when you can't be easily controlled. Detachment commands respect. Not because you're cold, but because you're free. Remember, detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring with clarity, not desperation. The fourth principle, silent leverage. Most people think power is loud. They think it's about raising your voice, demanding your way, or forcing others to obey. But that's surface-level power. The kind that cracks under pressure. Real power whispers. Real power doesn't need to shout. Machiavelli said, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." That's true. But what he didn't say is that the danger isn't always about charging forward. Sometimes the danger is patience. Sometimes the power lies in silence. Silent leverage is the art of influence without force. It's positioning yourself so that your very presence shifts the energy in the room. You don't tell people what to do. You create conditions where they choose to do what benefits you. You don't demand respect. You earn it until it's given freely. How does this play out? In conversation, it looks like patience with silence. Most people rush to fill the void, blurting out more than they mean to. When you can hold silence comfortably, you control the rhythm. Next time someone throws you a hard question, don't rush. Pause. Look at them. Let the silence hang before you answer. Suddenly, your words carry weight. In negotiations, silent leverage is knowing you have options. You don't need to wave them around like a weapon. Your calm willingness to walk away speaks louder than threats ever could. In relationships, silent leverage means being someone who consistently adds value without demanding credit. Over time, people naturally want to keep you close. Loyalty becomes effortless. At work, silent leverage comes from being reliable. You don't announce yourself as the problem solver. You just solve problems until everyone knows who to turn to. You become the quiet backbone of the team, the person others instinctively trust. The secret is patience. Silent leverage isn't about instant victories. It's about planting seeds and letting them grow. It's about building a reputation so solid that you don't need to broadcast it. Others do it for you. When you master it, you'll notice the shift. People will start asking for your input without you offering it. They'll wait for your reaction before making a move. They'll follow your lead without you ever raising your voice. But there's one boundary you must hold. Never use silent leverage to harm. True mastery isn't manipulation. It's guidance. The goal isn't to trick people into serving you. It's to shape outcomes where everyone wins. You're not pulling strings. You're creating conditions where better choices rise to the surface. Silent leverage is not passive. You're still moving, still acting, but strategically, quietly, powerfully. The fifth principle, psychological echo. At the heart of influence lies one simple truth. People want to feel seen, heard, and valued. Psychological echo is the art of reflecting someone's hidden fears and unspoken desires back to them. Not as manipulation, but as deep recognition. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few truly know who you are." That's the essence of this principle. You become a mirror, showing people the version of themselves they long to see. Here's the reality. People don't buy a product, service, or even an idea. They buy the relief of a fear, the fulfillment of a desire, the answer to a problem that keeps them awake at night. When you can echo those needs back to them, you step into rare territory. You become indispensable. Most people fail here because they're trapped in their own agenda. They focus on what they want to say instead of what the other person needs to hear. But influence doesn't begin with speaking. It begins with listening. Every single person you meet is carrying invisible weight, quiet insecurities, private ambitions, buried wounds. If you really listen, every word they speak contains a clue. When they talk about work, they're revealing what they value, what scares them, and how they see their place in the world. When they talk about relationships, they're opening windows into their emotional needs. Think about this framework. Every person is silently asking 3 questions. Do you see me? Do you understand me? Do you value me? When your words answer those questions with a resounding yes, you unlock trust that most people never reach. The power of psychological echo is in listening past the surface. Someone says, "I hate my job." The ordinary response, "Maybe you should find a new one." The echo response digs deeper. It sounds like you don't feel appreciated for what you bring, or maybe you're ready for something that stretches you more. Suddenly, the person feels understood. That's where connection is born. It works the same with every emotion. If someone feels overwhelmed, you can reflect back their dedication and high standards. If someone vents frustration, you can reflect their drive for excellence. By mirroring the positive root of their pain, you give them dignity in the moment. And here's where it becomes transformative. Once you understand someone's core fears and desires, you can shape your message in their language. To the person who craves security, you frame your idea in terms of safety. To the person who longs for recognition, you speak in terms of achievement. To the one who values freedom, you emphasize independence and choice. The message doesn't change, only the way you deliver it. That alignment creates irresistible influence. Used ethically, psychological echo is not about control. It's about connection. It's about helping people feel understood at the deepest level and guiding them toward choices that serve their best interest. When you master it, you don't just persuade. You build relationships grounded in trust, respect, and loyalty. The sixth principle, ambiguous morality. Life isn't always black and white. Real power, the kind that shapes outcomes and protects what matters most, often lives in the gray. Ambiguous morality is about learning to stand in that gray space. Not because you have no values, but because you understand that the world is complicated, messy, and full of trade-offs. Machiavelli once wrote, Since it is difficult to join them together, it is safer to be feared than loved when one of the two must be lacking. That single line captures the essence of moral ambiguity. It isn't about abandoning principles or chasing power for selfish gain. It's about seeing reality clearly and acting in ways that protect the bigger picture. Even when those choices aren't pretty. This idea is often misunderstood. People assume ambiguous morality means doing whatever you want, trampling others, or excusing cruelty. But that's not it at all. It doesn't mean throwing away your ethics. It means understanding that being nice and doing good aren't always the same thing. Sometimes the kind choice creates harm. Sometimes the hard choice creates healing. Think about leadership. Suppose you discover a team member has been lying to clients, damaging trust, and putting the company's reputation at risk. The compassionate response might be to give them more chances, to hope they change. But what about the teammates who show up every day with integrity? What about the clients being misled? What about the long-term survival of the organization? The ambiguous choice, the gray choice, might be to remove that person. It feels harsh, but it protects the many over the one. That isn't cruelty. That's pragmatic ethics. Or imagine someone you care about comes to you for relationship advice. The easy thing, the nice thing, is to stay supportive and avoid rocking the boat. But if you can see they're trapped in something toxic, true kindness might mean telling them a painful truth. It might mean piercing their illusions so they can finally see what's destroying them. In the moment, that honesty hurts. But in the long run, it saves. Ambiguous morality is rooted in one principle. Outcomes matter more than appearances. Sometimes the action that looks gentle creates greater damage. Sometimes the action that looks severe produces healing. If you're obsessed with looking like a good person, you may make choices that keep everyone comfortable, but leave deeper problems unresolved. But if you're willing to shoulder the weight of unpopular decisions, you can create better outcomes for more people. This doesn't mean abandoning responsibility. On the contrary, ambiguous morality demands more responsibility. Because when you operate in the gray, you can't hide behind appearances. You own the results, good or bad, and you must live with the consequences of those decisions. There's an important distinction here. Ambiguous morality is not selfishness. It's not about bending the rules just to benefit yourself. It's about weighing the costs, thinking long-term, and making choices that serve the greater good. Even when those choices come at a personal cost, it also requires adaptability. What's right in one situation might be destructive in another. Absolute honesty might be the right choice with someone you love, but in a professional negotiation, strategic disclosure might be wiser. Stubborn moral rigidity often fails in a complex world. Those who can see the shades of gray, who can adapt without abandoning their core values, are the ones who truly lead. Of course, this kind of thinking comes with danger. It can easily slide into excuses for selfish or harmful behavior. That's why boundaries are critical. You must know your non-negotiables. What lines will you never cross? What values are sacred to you, no matter the situation? Once you know those boundaries, you can move with confidence inside the gray space. Pragmatic, flexible, but never lost. At the end of the day, ambiguous morality isn't about being liked. It's not about winning approval or appearing virtuous. It's about being effective in a complicated world where clean, simple answers rarely exist. Sometimes the right choice will make others angry. Sometimes it will make you look cold. But if it serves the greater good, if it protects the people and values that matter most, then it's the right choice. Even if no one else understands. The gray space is uncomfortable. It forces you to make sacrifices. It forces you to face judgment. But it's in that space where real leadership is forged, where real power takes root, and where difficult decisions become the foundation for lasting impact. The seventh principle, controlled exposure. In a world where everyone is shouting their stories, posting their feelings, and broadcasting their private lives online, the person who chooses silence, or better yet, strategic silence, becomes magnetic. Controlled exposure is not about secrecy. It's about power. The less people know, the more they wonder. And when they wonder, they make assumptions. Assumptions create mistakes, and those mistakes give you the advantage. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men are so simple of mind and so much dominated by their immediate needs that a deceitful person will always find plenty who are ready to be deceived." He understood what still holds true today. When people reveal too much, they hand others the tools to use against them. When you reveal only what serves you, you maintain control of the game. Let's look at the psychology behind this. Human beings are naturally curious. When something feels incomplete, our minds can't rest. We try to fill in the gaps. This is known as the curiosity gap, and it's one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. By practicing controlled exposure, you create those gaps intentionally. You leave just enough unsaid so that people lean in closer, desperate to know more. Think of the most captivating people you've ever met. They didn't hand you their whole life story in the first conversation. They revealed pieces, just enough to spark intrigue, always leaving you hungry for the next detail. That wasn't random. It was deliberate. Controlled exposure has countless practical uses. In your career, it means you don't put every skill and strength on display at once. Instead, you reveal them slowly, over time. On day one, you don't need to show the entire arsenal. By holding some abilities in reserve, you create the impression that you're constantly growing, always unveiling new value. That impression makes you indispensable. In social settings, controlled exposure means resisting the urge to spill your entire past to people you've just met. Real trust takes time. Let your story unfold in layers as the relationship deepens. This isn't dishonesty. It's wisdom. In negotiations, controlled exposure becomes a weapon. You don't put all your priorities on the table at the start. You keep some information in your pocket, revealing it only when the timing strengthens your position. Remember this truth. Once something is revealed, it can never be unrevealed. Words can't be taken back. That's why it's always safer to say too little than too much. But this isn't just about withholding. Timing is everything. The same fact can land completely differently depending on when you reveal it. Bragging about an achievement early can make you look arrogant. Waiting until that same achievement solves a problem, that makes you look humble and capable. The difference is timing. Controlled exposure also means tailoring what you share to your audience. Your closest friends deserve more of you than casual acquaintances. Your business partners need to know different things than your competitors. Your employees should see a different side than your peers. This isn't about being fake. It's about being intentional. And in today's world, controlled exposure extends to your digital footprint. Every photo you post, every comment you make, every opinion you broadcast becomes part of your permanent record. People will judge you by it long before they ever meet you. The smartest people know this. They curate their online presence as carefully as they curate their reputation in real life. The point of controlled exposure isn't to be mysterious for the sake of mystery. It's about controlling your narrative. It's about guiding how people perceive you, emphasizing the parts of your story that align with your goals, and avoiding the trap of being boxed in by oversharing. The balance is delicate. Share enough to build real trust and meaningful relationships, but never share so much that you lose the strategic advantage of mystery. The most successful people master this art. They are open without being exposed. They are authentic without being predictable. They are genuine, yet always leave something unsaid. That's the quiet power of controlled exposure. The eighth principle: outcome obsession. There's a line that separates those who talk about success and those who actually achieve it. That line is drawn by a single trait: an obsession with outcomes. Outcome obsession means you're not here to win arguments, stroke your ego, or look clever. You're here for results. Period. Machiavelli once said, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." In other words, results matter more than appearances. Dreams without execution are just noise. Effort without outcomes is wasted motion. Most people get lost chasing the wrong things. They want to be right more than they want to be effective. They want to look good more than they want to move forward. They cling to processes, appearances, and validation, forgetting that none of it matters if the goal isn't reached. Outcome obsession cuts through that clutter like a blade. When you're obsessed with outcomes, you start asking different questions. Not, "How can I prove I'm right?" but, "What result do I want from this situation?" Not, "How can I look impressive?" but, "What actions will actually create the outcome I want?" That shift in focus changes everything. Take arguments, for example. Most people enter disagreements like they're debating in front of a crowd, trying to score points, prove their brilliance, or trap the other person in contradictions. Outcome-obsessed people approach arguments differently. They ask, "What do I need to walk away with from this conversation?" Maybe it's a change in the other person's behavior. Maybe it's a compromise. Maybe it's simply understanding their perspective better. Once you know the outcome you're aiming for, you choose the strategy that serves that outcome. Sometimes that means winning the argument. But often, proving someone wrong is the worst way to get what you actually want. If the goal is to influence someone, attacking them usually makes them defensive. They dig in deeper. But if your goal is change, you guide them towards seeing the truth themselves. If the goal is preserving the relationship, you might let go of being right, so you can build a solution both sides can live with. The same principle applies everywhere. In business, outcome obsession means chasing impact, not applause. You don't pick projects for their visibility. You pick them because they move the mission forward. You make choices based on evidence and results, not politics or vanity. In relationships, it means prioritizing the health of the connection over the need to win every fight. You don't waste energy on petty battles. You ask, what matters most to us long term, and shape your response around that. Even in personal growth, outcome obsession keeps you honest. You stop measuring yourself by effort or intention and start measuring by results. You can be busy every hour of the day and still be stuck in the same place. Outcome obsession forces you to ask, is this activity actually moving me closer to my goal? Or am I just staying busy to avoid the real work? This is where outcome-obsessed people look almost lazy. But it's not laziness. It's precision. They practice what could be called strategic laziness. They don't burn themselves out doing everything. They focus only on the few actions that generate the biggest results. They're not trying to be the hardest worker in the room. They're trying to be the most effective. And when it comes to learning, they apply the same principle. They don't waste time mastering every skill under the sun. They target the handful of skills that will create the greatest leverage toward their goals. The question isn't, how much can I learn? It's, what's the minimum I need to master to achieve maximum impact? Outcome obsession isn't about shortcuts. It's about clarity. It's about living with relentless focus on the end goal and letting go of the distractions that keep most people spinning in circles. Because at the end of the day, no one remembers who was right. They remember who got it done. Outcome obsession is about being strategic, focused, and efficient. But there's a warning here you can't ignore. If you chase results at any cost, you risk losing your values, your relationships, and even yourself. The healthiest form of outcome obsession lives inside ethical boundaries. Your definition of success should always include integrity, respect for others, and a contribution to something bigger than yourself. When those values are built into the way you measure outcomes, this obsession becomes a force for good. Another crucial element of outcome obsession is flexibility. Too many people cling to their plans like lifelines, even when those plans are sinking them. They confuse loyalty to a method with loyalty to a goal. But the truth is, methods are disposable. Outcomes are not. If one strategy fails, outcome-obsessed people pivot. If one path closes, they find another. They are unshakably stubborn about reaching the goal, but endlessly adaptable in how they get there. That flexibility creates resilience. When circumstances change, they don't freeze. They adjust. When new information comes to light, they don't ignore it. They update their strategy. They don't waste years trying to force a broken system to work. They simply shift and keep moving forward. The ultimate goal of outcome obsession is to become the kind of person who actually gets things done, not the person who talks about doing it, not the person who looks busy while going nowhere. The person who delivers. Over time, that reputation becomes priceless. When others see you as someone who follows through and produces real results, doors begin to open. People trust you with bigger opportunities, better partnerships, and more meaningful challenges. Because they know you'll find a way to deliver. At this point, you've walked through the 8 traits of dark intelligence. But remember, knowledge without practice is useless. Pick one trait that spoke to you most deeply. For the next week, focus on living it out. Don't try to master all 8 at once. Choose one. Apply it daily. Watch how people treat you differently. Notice how you feel when you act with strategy instead of raw emotion. But never forget the responsibility that comes with this power. These principles are not weapons to harm or manipulate. They are shields to protect yourself and tools to create better outcomes. For you and for the people around you. The world needs more people who can see through manipulation, who can navigate complexity with clarity, and who can lead without losing their soul. That is the real purpose of dark intelligence. Not to dominate others, but to ensure you can't be dominated. Not to seize power selfishly, but to gain power over yourself, your choices, and your future. The most dangerous person in the room may be the one with nothing to lose, but the most valuable person in the room is the one who understands human psychology and uses it to make life better for everyone. So the question is, who will you choose to be? True intelligence is not just about being clever. It's about being wise enough to put your gifts in service of something greater. Stay strategic, stay ethical, and above all, stay powerful.